After grinding the Marathon Server Slam all weekend, I started to realize something. Bungie might be back. Sort of, but we'll get into that later. As a lifelong fan of Bungie, up until post-launch Destiny 2, I remember pulling all-nighters on Halo Combat Evolved split screen with my friends and cousins as just a little dude.
That's true.
And Marathon breathes hope back into me for the future of Bungie. To see where Bungie improved Marathon, we need to start from the beginning. In 2023, Bungie announced Marathon during a PlayStation show.
I also, since he's just talking about Destiny, I also want to say I believe there's also a bunch of Destiny players that feel like Bungie has neglected Destiny 2 for Marathon. And like, I kind of get it. I do. But at the same time, I'm like, they probably have two different departments within Bungie, because Bungie is a large company, right? And they have tons of funding, where there's a team working on Destiny and there's a team working on Marathon. I mean, look at Activision Blizzard, right? Very big company. They work on Call of Duty and Overwatch. These are two very different things. And then if you want to even get more specific, Blizzard has a team for Diablo, and Blizzard also has a team for Overwatch. I'm pretty sure Bungie probably does the same thing.
Their trailer was high octane, wonderfully vibrant, and a stylish depiction of a graphic realism art style. But most of all, it was mysterious. It left fans all at the edge of their seats wondering and wanting more. In April of 2025, Bungie showed us the first look at Marathon gameplay. However, the art style looked a lot different than we expected. Still vibrant colors, but at the same time very dual lighting and graphics, which was not expected by the initial trailer's art style. But according to Bungie, that was all just because it was in alpha state. Despite the graphics though, I was still interested because it still looked pretty cool and the gameplay still looked really good.
Yeah.
But around 1 short month later, an artist named Anti-Real came forward claiming that Bungie blatantly stole their art.
Yeah, I remember this. This was like a really big deal. And I think they changed a few things because of the art.
This was proven by a hidden mark or concealed signature that they put on each of their art pieces. And by the way, go support Anti-Real.
And I also do think like a lot of hate started stemming from this too, because they came out and they said, this company is basically stealing my art, and you got to think as well, like this is also coming at the time where AI is coming into play, and a lot of people are dislike AI art and everything else, right? So not only is it painting a bad picture for Bungie, saying like, Bungie is not only stealing art, but they could also be, using AI or whatever the crap. But you get what I'm saying, right? I think it also generated more hate towards the game.
On X, their art is absolutely sick. Anyways, this news gained major traction around the industry, and it seemed that Marathon and Bungie's reputation would permanently be tarnished due to the sheer amount of backlash in the community. Bungie's art director at the time, Joseph Cross, claims that it slipped through the cracks without his knowledge. However,
and I also do, I remember him coming out and saying this, and I think because there was a big, Pokemon and CS:GO. That's true. Well, okay, the CS thing. So the thing about CS was somebody submitted that artwork, and Steam took it in, right? So it wasn't Steam that made that artwork. It was another person within the community that did that. I don't know about the Pokemon thing, so I can't speak on that. But going back to what he said in the video about the guy that came out and said it slipped through the cracks. I think this was also a time where they were having a lot of internal shifts with things. So they were like bringing on new people. People were leaving the company. So I could see how it actually did slip through the crack.
Does follow Anti-Real on X, so that does not look good. At the end of the next Marathon livestream showcase, game director Joe Ziegler and Joseph Cross sat with us, and Cross, on the verge of tears, apologized for stealing Anti-Real's artwork. And Bungie did end up compensating Anti-Real for the stolen work. Joseph Cross has since left Bungie after this apology. A major AAA studio like Bungie stealing artwork from small artists is by no means acceptable or moral, and this should not be forgotten. I understand that most art is inspired by other artwork, but this was a lazy and blatant attempt at stealing. They should have enough creative minds and resources to create their own work, or even pay these artists for their work. or even attempt to hire them on as new talent. After the poor feedback on playtests from fans and creators in 2025, Bungie decided to delay Marathon indefinitely, as they could not fix all the issues that players had with it in the few short months until their original release date of September.
And it's a very good idea that they delayed it indefinitely and gave it more time to cook and everything else. Again, as you guys know, as I've spoken about previously, my main concern with this game in Bungie is how they treat it long term, because of how Destiny 2 it's pretty dry now, and how they vaulted content, taken away content. I've also heard a lot of people that still play the game today. I've even talked to people during the playtest, and they said, yeah, it feels like you have to pay to have fun in Destiny 2. And that's what I'm most worried about this game. I hope you don't have to pay to have fun in Marathon.
23rd, 2025.
What up, Robbie?
Which was a solid move, because if they launched it then, it would have most definitely failed, especially after the art scandal and the poor reception on the playtest being so fresh. Not to mention,
that was a cool
Arc Raiders would have dropped a month after Marathon, which had a much higher praise playtest from fans compared to Marathon.
Let me run that back, because I didn't hear what he said because I got too distracted by that animation there. That was a cool animation. Look at this animation.
And the poor reception on the playtest being so
that's cool. That's a cool animation. All right, let me listen.
Fresh. Not to mention, Arc Raiders would have dropped a month after Marathon, which had a much higher praise playtest from fans compared to Marathon. But Bungie would return in early 2026 to showcase their massive changes to Marathon. They reworked their graphics and lighting to better match the original trailers, and it looks incredible.
It does.
I'm a huge fan of the graphic realism art style. From the high saturated man-made structures to the wet, misty, gritty realism of the marshes. And not to mention, the lighting is impeccable. The first thing that defines an extraction shooter is immersion, and Marathon seems to be nailing it. The maps need to seem believable. Like
I said it too, the atmosphere within this game is really well done. If there was ever going to be a cyberpunk FPS, it has to do like this, or more so like with the neon lights and type of stuff. It comes down to like the lighting and whatnot. I think they've really hit it out of the park with the immersion and the atmosphere in this game.
A lived in or once lived in place. In Marathon's world, humans attempted to colonize on Tau Ceti 4. That is until disaster struck, and the map tells this story without you knowing the lore. You'll see destroyed structures, with some even taken over by foliage. Crazy shit written all over the walls. Yep. Items scrambled everywhere, and shoe track marks on the floor symbolizing the population leaving in a rush. And while we're discussing what defines an extraction shooter, audio design as well as audio cues also comes to the forefront. And I do have to say, it is top notch, at least to my ears. If you have a halfway decent headset, you'll be able to tell which direction footsteps are coming from.
It's true. Okay, so I have like this weird in between with the audio. Sometimes it's really hard to tell the distance of gunfire. But obviously I think that will improve over time with more experience and whatnot, and getting used to the audio. But there are times, and maybe it's the assassin shell or whatever, but there are times too where I cannot hear someone that has come up right behind me. I've gotten killed from right behind, with someone literally coming right up behind me, and I had no idea. And it might be because it was the assassin shell, and maybe their footsteps are a little bit quieter or something, but I could not hear them, even when there was like no shooting or anything going on. But I do think that the footsteps can be drowned out a little bit with a lot of noise going on, which is not bad, right? That's perfectly fine. It just means that you have to play the game a little bit differently, so maybe you don't get spotted by the AI and start taking shots. Or maybe if you're going into a gunfight, maybe you need to, crouch and lurk around yourself and listen for their footsteps to figure out exactly where the gunfire is coming from, or using other audio and visual cues, I will say though, it is easier for me to hear the footsteps with these headphones on, which is is this Sennheiser? I actually don't remember. Oh, Baradynamics, the DT770 Pro X, versus my IEMs, which are orchestra lights, as you guys can see. Maybe focus, maybe. It was much easier for me to hear footsteps on my actual headphones than my in-ear monitors.
Guns also sound so punchy, and all sounds bounce and reverb off of walls.
Yeah.
Narrow corridors, and whenever you go inside of buildings, it sounds claustrophobic as hell. Another way sound defines extraction shooters is risk. Hacking and jamming towers for missions makes a lot of noise. Walking by a swarm of birds causes them.
I do like all the little events as well, like calling in a supply drop and all that, and how it does this big beam of light and everything. And I think that's great. I also like how, compared to Arc Raiders, the extraction is quiet. You have to kind of look for the beam of light, and then by the time you actually hear like the extraction going off, they're leaving. They're in the process of leaving. So I really like how they've done it compared to in Arc Raiders, where you go up to the thing and it starts to call whatever, Rambi. how you get the call, and then the elevator's coming up and it's super loud and it like announces it to the whole world and blah 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 blah. Yeah.
The call and fly away, giving away your position. Firing your weapon.
And also the birds that you can trigger in this are significantly better than Arc Raiders, but not as bad or not as good as Hunt Showdown, in my opinion.
And every step you take can be your demise. Almost anything you do in the game makes a noise that your enemy can hear. Bungie also addressed several other concerns from the playtesters, such as adding cross saves, the much needed proximity chat, and you can now solo queue. But it would be great.
I didn't really get to test out the proximity chat just because we had the bugs going on in the VC. It's all good, bro. All good. Because we had the bugs with the VC, and I accidentally muted my mic for like 2 days of the thing, which I didn't know. So like if you go down and when you're in the game in the bottom right hand corner, or I'm sorry, in the lobby of the game, in the bottom right hand corner, your icon is there, and then you'll have like a little microphone icon, and if it has a slash through it, that means your microphone is muted on the game side. So if you just click on that, then it'll unmute it. I didn't know that until I looked it up, and I was like, bro, why is my mic not working? So I didn't really get to experience any of the proximity chat, unfortunately.
If we could add duos. Not everyone has two people to play with at all times.
And he just mentioned duos. I heard, yeah, I don't think it's you, Tarx. I think it's how the compression is and everything on YouTube, and how the video gets rendered and all that, because it happens to mine too. I think it's just the video player and all that. But I did see someone mention that they are thinking about adding duo queue to the launch of the game, I believe, or maybe a little bit after the launch. If they do duo queue, that'd be fire. Yeah, I said do.
And some people hate playing with randoms. Another thing that really annoys me and other players is the UI. There's constantly 20 things on my screen that I don't care about, and it takes up like 30% of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I was running raids with my good friend Sir Brobeans. Go check out his channel on Twitch, linked below, by the way. The dude's funny as hell. Anyways, we were in the middle of a PvP battle, and I go to revive him. On his body, he has a progress wheel. On my HUD, I had a progress wheel. And on the tablet my runner was holding had a progress bar. My point is,
there's like, it's very redundant.
They had a perfect diegetic feedback system in the tablet that gives me all the information that I need. We don't need 3 different things on our screen showing us progress for a revive. That's just one example.
Yeah, there was a bug. There was a big bug going on. I think they patched it on like day 2. But then I also heard if you go into your settings and toggle it on and off again, it'll work. So I don't know if it did get patched. Maybe it only got patched for some people, or maybe there was some kind of issue going on with it. But I don't know why. Because I was having that issue too. Like I didn't really hear anybody in prox chat. But again, there could have been, other fools out there like me, where we accidentally toggled our mic to be muted in the game, and we couldn't talk, and we didn't know it.
Or more, but you get the point. You can, however, dim and also turn off the entire HUD. I just hope when the game launches, we're able to pick and choose what we want displayed on our HUD.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Also, call me an idiot, call me whatever. The main menu and settings are also very difficult to navigate, at least at first. I got it now, but it was really complicated at first.
I could understand that, but after navigating Battlefield's settings, nothing is harder than that, dude. I still talk about it to this day. They advertised 600 plus settings on PC, never added a search bar for it. So I'm scrolling for like 10 minutes trying to figure out where my stuff is. Yeah, I hope so too. I hope they get some of the more like small things refined before the launch, which I think they will, because they did get a lot of good feedback.
This menu is confusing.
Watches Bro Beans gets absolutely shit on.
Oh,
Sorry,
crap.
Beans.
Holy crap.
Love you, buddy.
Oh my goodness. Wait, how is he so high in the air? Is he that character that
glad I
jumps
saw that,
super high?
Another concern I do have is while the maps are unique and beautiful,
The settings were fine for me, but no, for sure. Like going into the factions and then figuring out like the different things. It got like after like a day for me, I was able to figure it out pretty simple. But at first, for sure, it's overwhelming when you first log in, like, and looking at it for the first time and looking at all those little icons and stuff. But I just took it slow and just read every little thing and like looked at read the descriptions and stuff. And I said, oh, okay. So I just have to, so this is my upgrades and then these are my contracts. The one thing that I am still confused on is like the first part, I don't know what it's called anymore, but like when you go into a certain faction, like let's just say SIAC, you have 3 options, right? You have the contracts, the upgrades, and then there's like something else on the top. When you go up there, I think that's like the overall rank or whatever for it. And then when you click on that, that's like, I don't understand that portion because I just kept going there and grabbing rewards. That's all I know that it's there for. But everything else I was able to understand after going through the menus just a few times. It got a little streamlined. My biggest complaint about the UI now is when you're in game, like there's some of the weapon attachments and some of the like the cores and modules or implants as they call them, they're too similar with the icons, and maybe the design team can change some of those or whatever, so that way they're more distinct. But that's probably my biggest thing with the UI now. No, I don't think it's the worst, but it could use some improvement.
beautiful.
But again, I was also confused upon Arc Raiders at first too, with all the top bar and then you have the different bar. Like I was trying to find my contracts in Arc Raiders at first, and I'd end up going to the shop, and then I was like, wait, how do I get to the person with this and that? And it was just a little confusing for me at first in Arc Raiders. But again, as I played it more, I understood where everything was at, and it made more sense.
There are only going to be 4 at launch, 3 of which are just normal extraction shooter maps. And then the 4th being a very high-risk Destiny-style raid type of map.
That one's going to be sick.
Archive. You'll want to save all your highest tier loot to even have a chance here. It just has me a bit concerned on whether or not the maps might get repetitive.
Yeah.
But extraction shooters are more about the
Zoa.
experience you make with yourself and your friends. Every raid is a different experience. After all, this playtest only had 2 maps, so we don't have the full experience until launch. But we will receive more maps with each new season. Marathon will also launch with 6 different runner shells. First being Destroyer, who's for your brute force heavy pushing players.
The Destroyer shell, I didn't play it on stream, but I did play it offline yesterday. The Destroyer shell, actually really good. The ultimate on it, really good. I was very, very surprised. Yeah, they do need to make them different for sure, or differentiate them more, because I get it, like them having the highlighter portion for what they're for is fine. Like I can immediately tell, oh, this is a head implant, this is a body implant, this is a leg implant. Now my problem is I have to hover over each one though and figure out, okay, but what is this head implant? What is this body implant? What is this leg implant? I wish there was like maybe they can like color differentiate them. I don't know how they could make the icons better, but obviously they're a billion-dollar company. They have more resources and more minds to figure that out than me, so I'm gonna let them handle that.
Next is Vandal, which is your shell for movement players. You can double jump and slide much further. third being Blackbird, which has so far been my main. This is
I played a lot of Triage. I've always just kind of gravitated towards the medic classes in games. Growing up in Battlefield, I played the medic a lot. I literally joined the military, became a medic. It's just, I don't know, it's just in my nature, I guess. I just love playing the medic. That's who I mostly played.
your recon shell that gathers info on enemies, similar to Bloodhound from Apex. Next being Assassin, who is your stealth shell that can also lay out a massive smoke screen. Fifth is Triage, your healer shell, who is always good to have on your squad. Finally, Thief,
I can't
who
wait
has
to
a
play
grappling
Thief.
hook and has a pickpocket drone that latches onto
I was watching this video yesterday about Thief, and the drone, you could just like fly it around and like harass people, and I low-key want to do that for like a day, or not maybe like a day, but a few raids. Just fly the drone around and harass people, because what you could do is you could pull their heals off of them. It'll pull items that they have in their inventory, and it'll make them drop it on the floor, so they have to repick it up. So you could, so this guy, he was flying the drone around. It was from an Operator Drewski video. He was flying the drone around, and they're fighting a team, and he's pulling the heals off of these people. And then when the heals are out on this ledge, and he has a sniper, so he has to go and pick up his heals. And when he goes to pick up his heals, he just snipes them. I thought it was hilarious. Blackbird, yeah, Blackbird was pretty
enemies
cool too.
it can steal from their back.
I only played it like once, I think. I didn't, because I'd used the drone. Blackbird's the recon one, I believe, right? I used that drone that's supposed to go out and find someone, bro. And the drone just kept going around in a circle, went up the wall, on the ceiling, behind me, down the wall, across the floor. I was like, what is this drone doing? I'm very confused.
Packs. You also have
Thief
Rook,
does look sick though.
your risk-free scavenger shell, and I'm sure they'll be adding new runner shells with different seasons.
The Rook is
Also
fun.
at launch there will be 6 factions. All 6 have their own rank, and you can level up each of these factions through contracts. There are even skill trees for each of these factions that can permanently boost your stats and attributes. I will go more in
I'm grinding Syak at first, because the heat expansion, that is a must. The heat expansion is super good.
depth on a future video on each of these shells as well as the factions, so stay tuned and subscribe for that. Marathon will also have a ranked mode, but I'm not sure if it'll be there at launch. Either way,
I do have concerns about the ranked mode as well. So like, okay, if you, let's say you have like legendary stuff or like even purple stuff, right? And then you go into the ranked mode. Obviously you're going to be ranked against people that are in your similar rank, but then they're probably also going to have the same amount of gear. So I wonder, or like the same quality of gear. So I do wonder, like, I feel like one of the points about an extraction shooter is you kind of go in and maybe you don't have like the best gear, but then you could wipe a team that has purples or blues and legendaries or stuff that is like just much better than what you have, and then you can make it out, you know? So I do wonder how they're going to balance that in terms of gear with rank. So I will hold my reservations on the ranked playlist until I get to experience that.
it's an awesome feature that I don't believe any other extraction shooter has, and I look forward to seeing how that plays out. Another unique and seemingly welcomed feature in the community is the lack of a secure container. It makes raids feel a bit more risky, and it also makes it to where taking out an enemy in PvP is much more rewarding, because they can't just stash their most valuable loot up.
It's true. I was finding some stuff that I needed for upgrades for my factions and whatnot, and I'm like, dude, I don't have a butt pocket. I can't just keep this. If I die, this is it, dude. So it adds more tension to it, which is really good. I think actually not having a butt pocket adds a whole new layer to how you play the game.
Their butts. They've also already made big changes to the playtest. They noticed players' feedback on the starter map perimeter having way less PvP than Dire Marsh does. So they upped the amount of teams and players that can spawn in perimeter.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it was noticeable.
I think they're gonna have to definitely get feedback. Like maybe they should do like ranked as a beta. I know that sounds weird, especially like if the game fully comes out, but Siege did that. Like ranked was a beta for like years. But maybe they should leave it as like a beta, get feedback on it, and see how the best ways to balance it. Because obviously it's not going to be perfect. No game has a perfect ranked. No video game has perfect rank besides maybe chess. But they're definitely gonna have to get feedback on it and just make it as best as they can, because I definitely think there's gonna be some major flaws with it at first.
The first
Unless maybe how they do it is just like the rank just comes as a passive thing and it's not necessarily its own playlist. But even then, I wonder if it's going to take into account your what's it called? Your ranked MMR and everything.
day of the playtest, we came across pretty much 1 or 2 teams on that map. And the second day, after they made the change, there was tons of PvP.
Yeah.
But the main comparison everyone keeps making.
And I do also really enjoy that they made that change so fast. I think them responding to that feedback really fast kind of gives us some insight what it's going to be like when the game first launches as well. They're going to be seeing, because there's obviously going to be more content, so we're going to run into probably some bugs that they might have not had in the server slam, and hopefully they're going to get that feedback fast and get out these patches and updates really fast. So I think this is a good sign overall that they responded this fast and explained why there wasn't as much PvP, but still added it anyways.
To Marathon is Arc Raiders. And I want to stress that these are 2 completely different experiences in games. I love Arc Raiders, and I really like Marathon so far. There's nothing wrong with that. But you just can't compare the 2 just because they're both newer extraction shooters around the same time. They're both wonderful, interesting, beautiful, and unique experiences. A lot of people also claim that there isn't anything new or a specific catch that isn't already in another extraction shooter. But they can't be further from the truth. The character building system similar to Destiny's is what
Yes, I agree as well. That the builds that you'll be able to do in this game, I think is going to be insane. I was already putting together some stuff for Triage that made it like where I self-healed like 50% faster, and then I also picked up my teammates like 35% faster and stuff. I was picking up my teammates like this. It was really fast. Yeah, and it's good that they're listening to the community. 100% great that they're doing that.
Bungie does best, and that translates perfectly into Marathon and the lore that they have built. You start off with a shell with your own main special abilities, but where it gets interesting is you can add 2 different shell-specific cores and 3 implants that enhance your shell's performance.
And I think another like factor for this too is the theory crafting. Like one of the cool things about Deadlock, I know, completely different game, but it has to do with this, right? Is the amount of items in Deadlock and the build variety in Deadlock leads to a lot of theory crafting. And if there's going to be way more implants and stuff in this game, there's going to be a ton of theory crafting and things that you can test. I also did see someone like mention on Twitter saying, you know, because of how much build variety there is, they hope maybe there's a way to like test it without losing the gear or something like that. Maybe they can add like a private like bot match that you can go in and kind of test your build and everything. And I don't know how feasible that would be, but I think that'd be a good idea. Because if you only have like let's say 1 implant of something, it's going to be kind of hard, or it's going to be kind of long and very risky to test that build by going into a live match and everything. I don't think that's going to come with the start of the game, but maybe it is something that they can add in the future.
And abilities. Another unique feature that they bring from Destiny is that they have events that go on in raid. But the risk is high because the AI in these events can be extremely challenging.
True.
Also, AI does get tougher the longer that you're in raid. But lately, it seems like the Marathon hate train has finally started to die down. And some people are getting more optimistic about Marathon after trying the server slam. But
I was extremely skeptical about the game. I still have my skepticism in terms of how it will perform for Sony's sake, because Sony they really want the game to succeed. They do. What up, Canadian? However, what I'm really worried about is, like, let's say it doesn't hit the sales that Sony hopes for, and maybe they stop, like, you know, supporting it or whatever. And I really hope that's not the case, because I think where Sony kind of shoots themselves in the foot is they might be expecting like a certain like threshold of sales, but they also have to realize this is an extremely niche subgenre of shooters. So it's not going to appeal to everyone. So that's where I'm kind of worried in terms of like how it's going to affect Bungie, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I'm also worried about. But yeah, I digress.
We will always have those negative people who are too stubborn to even give the game a try.
True.
And just shit on it, just to shit on it. Because there's some people you just can't make happy. Either way, I don't think Marathon will be the most successful extraction shooter, but it'll find its own niche audience with diehard fans. I think that it's worth a try. So go find out if Escape will really make you God. Let me know down below what's your stance on Marathon. Like and subscribe for future Marathon.
So that was my boy Tarx, his video. Very good video. I like how he broke it down and everything. Again, I am actually very worried for how Sony will respond to how it sells. I just really hope that they give it time. I hope they give it time to recoup the money that they invested, because obviously they're gonna have the initial sales, they're gonna have battle passes, and then probably some cosmetics. So I hope they give them. I hope they're not hoping like for a very short term profit gain, and then if it doesn't hit that, they they don't support it as much or whatever. I really hope that's not the case. I really hope that's not the case. But anyways, there's the video, guys. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe to him, and give him some watch time as well, if you could please.